Hi everyone. Tomorrow our family are having a very enjoyable experience. We're going to see my mum and dad for the first time in weeks. But of course I can't be as close to them as I am to you right now. I have to be this far away. I've measured it. 2 meters social distance. And if the WHO has anything to do with it, I should probably be wearing this. Not very welcoming, is it? Happy Father's Day, Dad. But you know, learning about social distancing has taught us something about some people in the Bible. I'm going to come a bit closer to you. It teaches us about some people called lepers. Now, lepers were just like many of us have to be today. They had to keep their social distance. Leprosy was incredibly contagious, and so there was a danger that any leper could give this contagious disease to someone else in the community. So they were kept away from the places of worship. They were kept away from society. They were kept away from friends and family. They may even have had to go around ringing a bell, mine is broken, and saying unclean, unclean, unclean. We probably can understand more than anyone without leprosy how terrible it would be to have to keep that social distance from your friends, from your family, from the whole of society, living in these leper colonies away from everyone else. But worst of all, for a Jewish person, it meant that you were separated from God. Once a leper came to see Jesus. It says in Matthew's Gospel, when Jesus came down from the mountainside, large crowds followed him. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." What did Jesus do next? Did he just give him the cure? No, he gave him something much better. Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said, "be clean." Imagine how much that touch must have meant. Imagine how great it's going to be for you to hug that person, to touch that person that you've been waiting to touch for so long. As some of you may even be living alone, you may not have touched another human being for months. Well, this man hadn't touched another human being for years, and Jesus reaches out his hand and touches him. And we're told immediately he was cleansed of his leprosy. But what does this tell us? Well, you know, in a way, social distancing is a good picture of what our relationship is like with God. We have to keep a social distance from people so that we don't infect them with the contagion that we have. But the Bible teaches us that we all have a contagious disease. And it's not one that is just random, it's one that's moral. It's something called sin. Sin means we have to keep a distance from God. In the temple, there was a great curtain that was erected between the place where God was thought to dwell, the ark, and the people. It was like a big face mask separating God from his people, keeping them at a distance. It didn't decrease God's love for his people, not at all. But it did show that their sin meant that they could not come to be with God. And that's the case for all of us. Our immorality, the things that we've done wrong, create a distance between us and God. But what we see Jesus do here for the leper shows what Jesus did for us. He came down and he touched us. He took on our sin. Think about it. If Jesus touches this man, he instantly becomes unclean. And that's what happened when Jesus came to earth. He took on our sin. When he died on the cross, he was punished because of our sinfulness, because he so united himself to us when he touched us, when he came to be one of us. He took our sin so that when we believed in him, our sin was transferred to him and our punishment was transferred to him. So for Jesus, it meant becoming unclean. But for us, just like that man with leprosy, it meant that our uncleanness was taken away. Perhaps you feel distant from God. Perhaps you feel far away. And in a sense, that's the right way to feel. But this story gives us an encouraging truth. We're not meant to be at a distance from God any longer. Rather, because of Jesus, we're meant to come and be with God through trusting in him. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.